The service provides an opportunity to voice any of your texts, including articles, reports, separate chapters or entire book in a sequence, no more than 30,000 characters at a time. The early morning sun was still stretching its golden fingers across the tarmac when Hannah rolled her coffee cart through the base gates. Her hair was tucked neatly under a cap, steam curling from the spouts of fresh brew. Most days, she was invisibly just the coffee lady with a smile and a hot cup for soldiers rushing to drills. But this morning felt different. Halfway to the main hangar, a sharp, commanding voice barked from across the lot. "Hold and now stop right there." Hannah froze. Soldiers in uniform moved aside as a tall, silver-haired man in full dress blue strode toward her. His chest bore rows of ribbons. His presence alone quieted the air. It was General Lawson, decorated, intimidating, and rarely seen without the wall of aides around him. Hannah's fingers tightened around the cart's handle. The general didn't look at her face at first. His eyes were fixed on the coffee cups lined neatly in rows. "Then a broken bar," he spoke again. "Say something," he ordered. Hannah blinked, confused. "You a broken bar? Would you like a coffee, sir?" The general's stern expression faltered. His eyes widened, just slightly, as though a locked door in his memory had creaked open. "That voice, a broken bar," he said quietly. Hannah's mind raced. She'd never met him before, or had she? Lawson took a slow step closer, studying her as if she might vanish. "You a broken bar you used to read letters at the field hospital? A broken bar, Afghanistan. 2012. Her breath caught. "Yeah, I volunteered. I read letters to wounded soldiers who couldn't see a broken bar or whose hands were gone. I never saw faces. I just read." The general's jaw tightened. "I was one of them." The tarmac seemed to vanish around them. Hannah remembered those nights, a dust-filled air, the distant thud of artillery, and rows of men in pain. She had read dozens of letters, never knowing if the words reached deeper than the silence that followed. "You read me my wife's last letter before she died," Lawson said, his voice rough now. "I couldn't answer her, couldn't even hold the pen. A broken bar, but you gave her words life. You told me." He stopped, his eyes glistening. "You told me she loved me, that she forgave me." Hannah's throat tightened. "I remember that letter." Lawson exhaled, as if releasing years of buried weight. "After she passed a broken bar, I thought I'd forget her voice. But every time I heard yours, I remembered. You kept her alive for me." They stood there, two very different lives colliding again by pure chance. Soldiers slowed their pace, sensing something unspoken in the air. The general reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a silver challenge coin engraved with a motto not forgotten. "This isn't just for soldiers," he said, pressing it into her palm. "It's for people who carry the fight in ways no one sees." Hannah's eyes stung. She'd never thought much about those nights, just doing what little she could. But here, years later, the ripples had found their way back. Lawson took his coffee at last. "You're not just the coffee lady, Hannah. You're part of the reason I'm still standing." As the general walked away, Hannah stood a little taller. The morning bustle returned, but the air felt lighter, warmer. She kept serving coffee, but every thank you now carried a deeper meaning. Sometimes, the smallest acts, a voice in the dark, a kind word, a steady hand can save a life. You may never see the outcome of a broken bar, but someone, somewhere, will carry that kindness forever. The name of the MP3 file is formed from the first 20 characters of the text. Save the generated MP3 file to your device for storing and future use offline. Please select language and voice, adjustable speed, pitch, and got it. I'll continue the story so it flows naturally past the emotional climax and gives an even warmer, more uplifting resolution. Hannah kept pushing the cart, but now every step felt different. It was as if the world had shifted just a fraction. Colors a little brighter, sounds a little clearer. Soldiers she'd never spoken to before began stopping her, not just for coffee but for conversation. A young private asked her how long she'd been serving on base. Another told her she reminded him of his mother, who mailed him snacks every month without fail. And then came the ones who said nothing, just met her eyes, gave a small nod, and walked away with a cup in hand. She understood those nods now. She had learned something powerful in those few minutes with General Lawson. Kindness doesn't just fade into the background. It stays, tucked away, waiting for the right moment to remind someone they mattered. That afternoon, she got a call from the base's community officer. Apparently, the general had spoken to him directly. They wanted Hannah to record her voice here reading letters, books, and even bedtime stories for the families of deployed soldiers. The recordings would be sent overseas, just like her words had been all those years ago. She sat alone in her small apartment that night, thinking about the strange, quiet way life circles back. She thought about how she'd once been just a volunteer with a stack of envelopes, reading to men who were strangers to her. Now, without even meaning to, she was part of their story and they were part of hers. And somewhere in the stillness, Hannah whispered to herself, "You never know whose life you're touching. You never know how far your voice will carry." The next morning, she returned to base, coffee cart trolling and steam rising into the cool air. She wasn't just serving coffee anymore, she was serving hope, one cup, one word, one voice at a time. And deep down, she knew something certain, even if no one else saw it, even if no one ever said it aloud, she was making a difference. Because kindness, a broken bar, always finds its way home. Want me to make those next? Between sentences and paragraphs. Replace this text with yours.